All right, you guys, so I'm going to be doing my final thoughts on episode 2. So if you haven't already seen episode 1 and the reaction for it, go ahead and take a look at that, or the actual reaction video for this right here. But if not, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. So Trial Mob, let's go ahead and break it down. So, okay, episode 2 was definitely actually really good. I feel like I had less problems with this than I did with any of the other episodes, mostly because, again, there was a little too much setup going on in episode 1 that episode 2 finally had an opportunity to just kind of slow down, do a little lore building, show kind of like where the world currently is, again, with He-Man being gone. But what I didn't think about was, so He-Man isn't just the one that's gone, so is Skeletor. So the big good and the big bad are now gone. So that means that the big bad is now going to splinter in the same way that the big good is going to splinter. So I do like this episode a little bit more. It does kind of show the real, how the world actually has to develop, right? So if He-Man were... the original He-Man was the original Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm referring to the show. That would mean that what we're seeing right now is the Legend of Korra, right? So what happens when the planet has to, once the war is over, or once the main factions have decided to splinter or whatever, how the world itself becomes more technologically advanced. Now, we saw that in the Legend of Korra, and I like that we're seeing it basically here in this episode as well, how basically, there's been technological advancements, people are hurting because the magic that was there, that was doing something for them, is no longer there. So imagine if all the waterbenders lost their water bending. It's not so easy for them to be living out in the water anymore, or the Earth Nation, or whatever the case may be. And so we see some of the same stuff here. Now, it's very cool to see Triclops and Trapjaw and I forget what the name of the other dude was, the dude with the big tail, and then whoever that robot guy was. If you guys know who that is, I never saw his name pop up, and I never saw him get called by his name. So if anyone who knows who that is, let me know. But I think it was very cool to see some of the flashbacks, to see how the technology was different. But this show is kind of dark. I'm not going to lie. I was afraid it was going to be a little too kitty. And it's not like that at all. That scene when they're fighting and then the daughter fucking does the whole exorcism head 180 to look at her, I was like, oh shit. That's really cool. So I like the fight scenes. They look really nice. I like the animation. I feel like this looks very realistic, and it's not just kind of like big fists getting thrown. She actually is like dodging and trying to act tactfully and rolling, and they did get the jump on her, and her friend Andro did have to get her back. So this really feels more like an episode 1, right? We're now seeing like, okay, the aftermath, the big good and big bad being gone, but also, what's taking over now, right? The technology can also corrupt. That's kind of the main point about it, that evil people are still going to use what's good for bad in the same way that they would use magic for bad. Well, technology is no different. Even if it is better, even if it's maybe more reliable in a sense, right? You can still use it for corrupting purposes. So it's kind of rough to see what people are going through, obviously, but it's also kind of cool to see them show, what happened in the aftermath, right? So Triclops is now kind of like a Skeletor. He's no longer just like a lackey on the side. He's like a legit, character. I don't know if Triclops is supposed to be the sound wave, the same way that Megatron has Soundwave, Skeletor has Triclops. If anyone can go ahead and tell me whether or not that's the case, I'd appreciate it. But again, I do think it's really cool that we are seeing this version of it, the real aftermath of the world, of what's happening, and how obviously King Randor is not doing his job to try to make sure that people don't fall into the clutches of evil people like Triclops and all of them. And I think it's crazy that they killed Trapjaw. I was really hoping he was at least going to get a line or two, but all I've seen him do so far is have a glass jaw when he got spanked, and then obviously get his head split open right now in the show. So maybe we'll see him come back, maybe with just more robotic pieces. I think that would be cool, because I do hope we get to see a lot more of these evil bad guys, especially now that they're not all unified. Like, what did they go off and do, right? So Stinkor, or whatever his name is, like, he's stealing shit and doing whatever, but not a big deal. Triclops has a like legit army of people with him, and they seem to be fairly dangerous, so that's kind of dope. So of course there's just a lot going on here, and I do appreciate what they have going on here. I'm not still 100% convinced that this makes up for what happened in episode 1, but it's starting to kind of come together a little bit better for me. And again, this is really cool. And I can definitely see the chemistry between Andra and Tila. I'm not necessarily seeing the whole woke thing just yet. I haven't really heard them necessarily talk shit about Adam, other than like she's still kind of mad that he like disappeared, and like that her best friend kept something so important. But I like that Cringer stepped up in this episode. Like, I didn't really care about Cringer at all, except for when he's Battle Cat. But him stepping up at the end there and kind of letting her know, like, hey, listen, like, you were one of the most important people to Adam, and for you to just kind of go off and not honor his memory of you and to rise to the occasion that he thought you would is a disservice to him. And I like that. That kind of puts into perspective. That touched me a bit, and to see her obviously react to it and kind of get swayed by such a, I want to say, powerful speech, I think was very nice. And of course, we get to see at the very end there, Duncan. But I feel kind of bad because obviously they need him. He's going to be very important, or at least I think that was Duncan. But I realized that, yeah, King Randor is a bitch. He totally exiled Duncan, and ever since then, I don't know how many years have gone by, he's literally been in exile somewhere in the woods. That's super fucked. Like, it wasn't like oh, I fucked up, you're right, I don't want to sully Adam's memory by being such a harsh tyrant. But nah, it went through the way it did. So I don't know, this show is surprisingly adult, and I really appreciate that so far. So I hope that we're able to continue on with this trend, because I like what I'm seeing, and maybe there is some redeeming qualities here. So I'm hoping that they're able to touch base on that, and go ahead and provide us, again, more rhyme and reason. I just currently don't feel that I care that the world went to hell. I still don't care about that. If anything, it's cool that it did, because I get to see this version of the He-Man universe, and that's nice. But I don't know. I don't think I care enough at this point, considering what happened before, which again is why I said in the first episode, a prequel would have solved a lot of problems. A prequel would have gave everybody what they wanted in terms of watching He-Man do some more, and have all the classical bits of the show available to us. Seeing He-Man do his part, Man-at-Arms do a lot of his stuff, and then episode 1 would have been episode 1. It would have started the same way, still seeing a little bit of everything, but then boom, everyone's dead. Fuck. I would have cared more, because I would have been like, oh, there was already this version of the He-Man universe that the prequel episodes would have done for me, that then would have made that scene all the more greater when it did happen. But obviously they're not trying to build up that world, they're trying to build up this new one, and that's okay, that's fine. But I think it's starting to find its footing for me, even if it does have a little bit of cheesiness here and there. But I don't know, I am starting to see some of the charm in this, so I hope it does get better by the time we get to the end of the season. But alright guys, this was episode 2. This was my final thoughts on that, of the Masters of the Universe Revelations. If you did like this, please like, comment, subscribe, give me some feedback, let me know if there's anything I can do differently to try to make this better for you. I'm just starting to get into this reaction stuff, and I do like it. I have a lot of shows that I'm trying to get caught up on, that I've literally told myself I won't get caught up on until I can do a reaction video. So by all means, let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see, anything else that I can change, or something that I should be touching base on. All right, you guys. But until next time, this is a TBG feature. Deuces.